You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Monday. My name is Brock.
I'm Dalby.
We took the day off because Dalby was heading back from Timmins Rock on the river, so we took a little day. Vacation boys strike again.
I mean, we can be honest. This is Thursday that we're recording this. We took the day off because I'm going to be a huge piece of shit on Monday after driving back after Rock on the river. Because I mean, if I'm going to drive all the way up and go to this thing, I'm going to have a couple of pops while I'm up there, and then. Yeah, that drive back's going to be a lot. So.
Oh, man, driving hungover is the worst, too.
Especially if you're not on, like, some of those northern highways, right? There are one-lane dotted highway lines in the middle, and you're just like, oh, my God, I just want to put the cruise control on and just let the car take me where it needs to take me, but I need to be extra attentive. So.
What would you say is worse? Driving hungover or flying hungover? I'd say flying, to be honest.
You know what? I was having this conversation with someone the other day. I grew up in the Northwest Territories flying on old DC-3s and Dash 8 planes. So, like, I think my body is kind of conditioned to the rough conditions of a flight. I feel spoiled.
It's not even, I guess not even specifically the flight, but like going to the airport hungover and like the whole rigmarole of like being there and the smells and the people and everything. And you're just like,
that's true. The
why
one
did I
thing
do
that the
this?
driving has going for it is you are in control. As long as you're like driving by yourself or with like just like one other person, you're kind of in control. You can set the climate the exact way you want it. Window up, window down. You're not going to have to worry about somebody else eating food that's going to trigger you. You're very in control. Whereas at the airport, you are just surrounded by strangers who don't give a shit if you're sick or not.
Well, and you catch like a flight delay or something, you're stuck there. I mean, like the only good thing about being at the airport hungover is you can get a little hair of the dog.
True.
Go to the bar or something.
You can get an airport bar beer, maybe put a little clam in that thing and try and get back on the wagon.
Yeah.
And easier access to bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm on the road in the middle of Ontario, I don't necessarily have the easiest, quietest place to go and get her out of my system. You know what I'm talking about?
What's the worst place overall to be when you're hungover, in your opinion?
Dude, it's probably any job where you're working in like a hot area, hot situation.
True, yeah.
Like I'm thinking like on a hot day working the garbage truck, hungover.
Oh, that would stink.
Just everything about that situation sounds like
even if you're the
nightmare.
recycling guys picking up other people's cans.
Dude, so many of those
That
like
old beer
boozy
smell.
smells, and you're just.
I know, like outside and hot for sure, but teacher.
Oh God! Trying to maintain a hangover, a little bit of nausea,
Especially
and
if you're teaching like kindergarten, first
30
grade.
children all at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have a lot of quiet time today, kids.
Dude, you know what? That's probably like all the times that your teacher rolled out the TV and was like, we're going to watch Bill Nye the Science Guy today. And you're like, really? No way.
If you ever want to know which one of your teachers party, find out which one of them pre-booked the rolling TV the night before on a weekday.
That's the move. It's kind of the same like if your parents ever were like on a Sunday and they're like, hey, do you guys want some McDonald's? And
Yeah. If mom or dad came down the stairs real slow and immediately suggested McDonald's without you prompting, they were at it the night before.
I always used to love it when we'd go stay at my grandparents' house because like I never understood that was like my parents getting a break from us.
Oh.
And then like the next day we'd always see like my parents and they'd be like so like disheveled or whatever.
Real
like,
quiet.
Yeah. And I'd be like, what's wrong with them? And then you go home and there's like a box of pizza. And I'm like, you guys had pizza last night?
Right.
You guys had pizza night? We only have pizza on Fridays. Like,
Did you ever party with your parents? And I don't
Yes.
mean like, did you have a beer with your parents? Like, did you ever party with your parents?
oh, yeah. Yeah. Both of them I have. My dad had his wedding like earlier this
that's
month.
right.
So,
Yeah.
My dad likes to party for sure. My mom's toned it down pretty good. I have smoked weed with one of my parents. I'm not going to say which one.
There you go. Yeah, leave some mystery to it for sure.
Which that was weird. I didn't like that at all. I know a lot of people that are like, yeah, I got stoned with my dad or my mom, and it was really cool. And I'm like, I don't know. It was just kind of like, you know what it was? It was like smoking weed with someone who's never smoked it before, and you're kind of like their like trip guide, and it's like, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, you're annoying. Shut up.
See, I'll do the same thing as you, and I won't specify like which parent or whatever, of all the multiple steps and whatever. But yeah, I remember one of my parental figures offered me a joint in return for like I had done a big favor for them.
Yeah.
And they went, well, I know you don't smoke weed, otherwise I'd offer you a joint for helping me out. And I was like, who told you I didn't?
Yeah.
And that was the day that one of my parents told me not to bogart a joint, and I have not recovered from that.
Bogart?
Bogart? Have you not heard that word?
I've never heard that
You're
term.
too young. Bogart is like you're hogging the joint.
Oh, okay.
You gotta quit bogarting that joint.
Pass that shit,
I don't know if it's like a Humphrey Bogart kind of thing or like what the etymology of it is, but it's an old-timey term for pass that shit. You know what I mean?
It's funny because I have an uncle who I remember in high school I smoked weed with, and that was cool. I think like when it's your parents, it's like a little bit weird, and then
because you're waiting to get in trouble is the thing. If you're a kid and you're smoking weed, or you're like
you don't know the rules,
right? Like, is this a trap? Is this whole thing a bit so I'm going to be grounded? What's happening here?
It's like the time I went to a strip club with my dad and my uncle in Vegas and like my stepbrother, and it's like on paper when we were on Fremont Street, we're like, hell yeah, and then we get in there, and I was like, I know we talked about strip clubs in the last podcast, but it's like we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden it's like we're in the Hustler Club in Vegas, and it's like 4 relatives just sitting there, and we're all like making jokes and stuff, and
None
then
of you is having fun.
A lady comes up and she's like, any of you guys want to dance? And my uncle's like, him right there.
Oh no.
And then like they had this like long couch that ran along a wall.
Yeah.
And she just sat there, and I'm like in an eye shot of the whole fam jam.
They're watching.
And she's, you know, doing her thing, and she's like, you know, like you can grab my butt and stuff, and I'm like, nope, that's okay.
I'd rather not, thank you.
You just see the fellas just looking straight at me, and they're like, I get back and my uncle's like, how was it? And I'm like, awkward as hell, dude.
The worst experience of my life.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting over there, they're like, look at him becoming a man.
Yeah. There's just some things you like shouldn't do with your family, honestly.
It's honestly like, because I mean, you know, I like to think I have a very good relationship with my mom, with my stepdad. Like, we get along very well. We very much went through the phase of these are your parents and they are going to be strict and make sure you're on the right path. And then when you're old enough, these are my friends. Like, these are some of my best friends. I enjoy my time with them immensely. But you're right. There are things like I still to this day could not imagine. I have seen my mom drunk. I could not imagine sitting across the table from her and putting back shots. I feel like that would just be super uncomfortable.
Do you think people do like hard drugs with their parents? Probably. I mean, some people probably do.
I have to assume.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're gone down the path where you're doing hard drugs, the people you're doing it with is not a concern.
Yeah.
You know, you probably almost feel safer being like, well, the odds my mom is going to cut fentanyl into my drugs is less than the stranger, right?
Yeah.
I don't have any experience in that world.
My mom stole my stash. Yeah, that's probably. I mean, what am I saying? I've watched enough Cops. That shit happens for sure. That stuff most definitely happens.
It shows the sheltered nature of your life when most of your experiences are from watching Cops.
I mean, I could get into more stuff, but I don't really want to be on the record. Yeah.
You know, I actually want to go back to when we were talking about driving, because I just found out something. You know me, right? Born in Northwest Territories, grew up Western Canada. This is my first real foray out into Central/Eastern Canada.
Yeah.
I just found out a week ago that it is legal in Ontario, one of very few places in the world, to pass on double yellow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Why would anyone ever do that? It's such a bad idea.
Because if you ain't first, you're last. Dude, the one biggest thing about Ontario is, and like, it's only really a southern Ontario thing, I feel like, but Courtney said it to me, and I never thought about it because, like, I grew up outside the GTA and stuff, but she's like, everybody has, like, main character syndrome.
100%.
Not, like, in the north, not in the eastern part of the province, but, like, that Toronto area, you go downtown there, and everyone's in their own world. Like, they could give a shit about, and I mean, most of us could give a shit about what everyone else is doing anyways, but, like, when you're there, it's even more true.
Because I feel like outside of it is, and I hate to like shit on Toronto because I actually like Toronto as a city.
Sure, yeah.
But it does feel like it's got like this sort of pull. The closer you get to Toronto, it's more prevalent. Because you're right, like here or when I lived in Alberta, stuff like that, you don't really give a shit about what other people are doing, but it's because you're focused on yourself. Whereas in Toronto, not only do you not really give a shit about what people are doing, but you see them as background characters, NPCs in your own life. And it's just this like really weird mentality that it seems like people feel like you people only exist because I'm here.
Dude, I have someone that I know. I wouldn't even really call him a good friend. And I'd say an acquaintance.
Okay.
That in the past 6 months was hanging around this guy. And he was like, do you ever just feel like everyone around you is kind of just like an NPC? And I was like, that is the most just like self-absorbed thing you could possibly say.
That's red flag behavior.
Yeah.
But for sure it's red flag behavior.
That's a guy that I don't keep too close to me, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Probably a fair thing.
Like, what a weird thought to be like, none of you guys matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because like I've had the time, especially like walking around in bigger cities like Toronto, right? Like was born in a small town, so sometimes I get a little bit small town kid in a big city in places like Toronto. But I look at other people and I'm almost like, man, I want to ask so many people their story. Like you see someone and they're doing something interesting or dressed weird or look funny or whatever, and I'm like, I just want to know more about that person. The idea that someone else could look at those same people and be like, why do you fucking exist?
Yeah.
It is bonkers.
To be like, you're in my space.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Dude, honestly, if I could ask anyone in Toronto a question, like, have you been outside, have you been to the Eaton Center before at the mall? Down there?
Yeah. Me and the kids
There's
went
like
there last year.
the gold or silver man that stands out there. Did you ever see him?
Oh, I didn't see him. I have heard he's like a busker kind of thing.
Yeah, he
right?
like paints himself all in silver. Like, I would love to do a sit-down interview with those people.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how much money they make.
Right. Are you making a living at
How
this?
much time they spend on it, like what their family thinks about it.
True.
Do they have a girlfriend?
Yeah, like do you come home from a long day of painting yourself silver and pretending to be a statue? Hi, honey, I'm home. Oh, how was work?
Well, like if you work a nitty-gritty job sometimes, like you'll get home and you'll be like, fuck it, I'm not going to shower. Like I'm just going to go straight to work tomorrow morning.
You cannot do that if you are painted silver.
Well, like, do you think his like sheets are just covered in metallic? Like,
all his sheets are gray.
Yeah.
Just for that exact reason. Sometimes I'm going to be too tired to shower when I come home. This way I won't see the silver on the sheets.
if he's renting, he's never getting his damage deposit back. Like that whole place is just fingerprints of silver everywhere. Like,
Chrome on the doorknob and stuff like that. He's trying to come home even just like, oh, I'm going to make myself a quick like box of craft dinner or something like that. And everything's just stained.
also, like I'm curious about like those buskers and stuff, like what their schedules are. Like, do they, like if someone's like, hey, like do you want to go golfing today? They're like, ah, shit, man, now I got to stand outside the mall and like freeze until someone gives me $1.
Yeah. Are you doing anything around 1 tomorrow? Oh, yeah. I was thinking about going into the office for a little bit. The office. Yeah, the corner downtown. I make a lot of money down there.
I'm curious how much they make too, because it's like you always see people toss and change.
Yeah,
so.
I know there were some people in Edmonton when I lived there when I went to radio school that were like professional buskers. They did interviews in like these community newspapers and stuff like that. They were like well known, and they would say, "Yeah, I pay my bills."
Who do you think has crazier parties? People that work at fairs or buskers?
I wonder, because the thing is with people who work like traveling fairs and carnivals and stuff
They
like that.
get gnarly. Carnies get wild. I know carnies is maybe a disrespectful term.
No, but we know what you're saying. You're not saying it mean, but they are almost like a family, right? Like there's a bond because you're traveling town to town to town. You're partying with each other on the regular basis. Whereas do you think buskers have that same tight?
Or is it more competitive?
That was honestly going to be my question, right? They're all fighting for the same, like, who's got the best corners?
They're like drug dealers where they're like, you're on my corner, dude.
Who's got the most high traffic areas? And then you break it down to like two different people who are playing like acoustic guitar. Obviously, they're cutting into each other.
Oh, they probably talk shit.
That's my guess, right?
Yeah.
So like, I would say it's probably not that they're having like crazy fun parties. It's probably like, if I see you on the streets, it's on site.
Yeah. I'll catch you slipping, my guy.
Two jugglers just throwing hands in the back of the pub. I told you not to come around here anymore.
Dude, two silver men like fighting? They can't throw a punch until you put $1 in their bucket.
I was gonna say it's like the toys in Toy Story. Anytime someone walks by, they have to freeze.
Yeah.
And then when they're alone again, they're like, "You son of a bitch, come here."
I would watch the hell out of that. Actually,
they have those. What are they called? They're like creator clashes where they bring YouTubers in and have them box against each other. No.
Yeah.
busker brawls. That's what we need.
Dude, those people that have the whips and like set them on fire.
Oh, yeah.
I would not mess with that guy.
No. There's a dude on TikTok who does like, I think he does like Renaissance fairs, and he calls himself Jacques the Whipper. And he plays music with his whips.
I will say I do know, because Corny knows some Renaissance fair people. Yo, those people have like some wild sex parties.
Legendary.
And stuff.
Absolutely. This like the stories you hear about people who do Ren fairs is crazy.
Dude, that and like if you go to Comic-Con, like we went to the one in Niagara Falls last year and we stayed in the hotel and we saw like 6 people come out of this room at like 2 a.m. and they were all sweaty and I was like,
all in the jankiest cosplay and stuff like that.
I was like, what in like your spider senses were most definitely tingling in there.
Among other things.
The smell in that room was probably so gnarly.
It's got to be tough to be a hotel maintenance person, you know what I mean?
Oh, man. And I mean, no disrespect. Like, I love going to those Comic-Con things.
Super fun.
Dude, it's like that is the stinkiest place you will ever be in your entire life. Like, it's a deodorant-free zone.
There's a reason why there's a lot of those things are held in, like, big convention centers and open arenas and stuff like that. It's better airflow. It's just it keeps things moving. You know?
I went to one. I remember was it in college or like at the end of high school, and they had. Have you ever seen those zombie squad people?
No.
They're people that actually believe that there will be a zombie apocalypse, and they train for it. You can Google it. They're legit. It's just called Zombie Squad. They're all over North America. They have their different, I guess, sectors, if you want to call it that.
Sure, zones, whatever.
Yeah, and so I think it was in Toronto, and we were talking to these people, and it was with the girl that I was dating at the time, and they're like, what are you guys doing tonight? And we're like, we're just like got a hotel, like whatever, and
taking
stuff.
It easy.
We're staying here, like it's this room, like whatever. And I didn't realize till like I talked to someone like weeks later, they're like, oh, like those zombie people, they fuck. They're like essentially just inviting you to like one big like.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, in their defense, they're practicing for when they inevitably, in their minds, have to repopulate the earth. Right?
That's what it is.
The more genetic stock they can bring into the fold, the better Earth is going to be in the aftertime.
Dude, these people legit though, like if you can find the website, they gave us a pamphlet and it had like their whole strategy and everything.
Yeah.
They've got their own gear and it's all based off of like movies and crap like that. But
I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that zombies, as they currently exist, are only creatures of science fiction. Like, there's no such thing as a zombie. No human has ever turned undead and been studied by medicine. So all these people who are like doomsday prepping, all they have is like zombie movies and video games to prepare for. What if zombies turn out to be nothing like how we've written them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we have a very specific idea. It's like even with aliens, right? You think of aliens because we've always drawn them. They have the big oval heads and the big eyes and 3 fingers.
And they're probing.
They're probing and they're gray and small. We have no idea what life on other planets could look like. If it looks like anything other than what we've put in our movies, all of our preparation is fucked.
I saw something online recently that was like, because there's been all this talk in the past year that, you know, aliens do exist, blah, blah, blah,
right,
blah,
yeah,
blah,
when they
stuff.
revealed it and then somehow nobody cared, which is weird, but anyway.
It was like this weird article that I read that it was like, if the government did come out and was like, here's an alien, like society's done. Like we're so screwed. I don't think people could handle it, man.
Yeah, honestly. Well, I mean, look at, right, the government came out and was like, guys, aliens are real. And we were all just like, huh, cool, right on, moved on. And I think it was not that we were disinterested in it, but I think we just blocked it out of our minds of like, nah, they're lying to us.
Dude, people got so mad about Bud Light putting a transgender person on a can, let alone if like aliens were real. Like we're not there yet, man. Like,
let me ask you a serious question.
Yeah.
3 potential apocalypses. Which one do you think you survive? Zombies, hostile aliens, robot AI Matrix style takeover.
I feel like the robots is probably your best chance because then like you'll just become a slave. But then like The alien one, I think I might want to stick around for, just to like...
You think it would be cool to see?
I think that would be the coolest one to see.
Right. I think we're in agreement. Zombies, probably the hardest one to survive and the least fun. Because even if you do survive, you live a shit life.
Well, and then it's like, I don't know, like if Courtney gets bit and then like what I'm supposed to be like, get away from me, bitch.
Yeah. Do you have it in you to pop a loved one in the brain?
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
Zombies is the worst of all the apocalypses.
My thing too is like, it's terrible to say, I'd rather just die. Like, I don't want to be, I'm not a hero.
Right.
Like, I don't have that dog in me. I don't want to be the guy that's, like, we're watching that show Lost right now, and there's the character Jack, who's like the doctor who's kind of like taking over the island. And I was like to Courtney, I was like, man, I'd be one of these background people that's just kind of like, all right, whatever you want to do, man. Like,
I don't have the main character energy for this.
And to like get a group of people and be like, we need to do this, I'd be like, all right, man.
Guys like you and me, the only way we work in those situations is if they're looking for a jester.
Yeah. As soon as we run out of like Mountain Dew, I'm out. Like,
that's the line.
Yeah.
You finish the last bottle, you're like, well, I had a good run. Bang.
I can't do the dew anymore, so.
I think zombie apocalypse is the worst one. There's no upside to it in any direction. I think you're right. I think the alien one is the coolest to see, but probably doesn't end well, because how many Jeff Goldblums do we really have?
Yeah.
And then I think the Matrix style one, I think that's the best case scenario. Use me as a battery and let me pretend I lived a great life.
Well, and I think the problem is like if there is like a robot apocalypse, like we're running out of water, so it's like you can't even throw it on them, because that would be it. Like, because if there was a robot apocalypse, thinking if we all just had a bucket of water at all times, they're fucked, man. Like,
what was that Shyamalan movie where the twist was that they were like allergic to water?
That's Signs, the alien one. Yeah.
I like that movie becomes more and more threatening as time goes by, because we're going through so many droughts on this planet.
Dude, like iRobot could have been done way faster if like Will Smith had like a Gatorade squirt bottle on him, like in a holster.
Just taking him down one shot at a time.
Just pee on one or something.
Standing behind, that's what you do. You just get a wall of sprinklers and they're like, come and get me.
Yeah.
I'm living the good life.
And
now.
That's why we need to be worried about climate change, guys.
That's it. We need the water to fight the robots and the aliens, so stop polluting.
But then again, I'm not even planning on having kids, so I'm not worried about the future.
It's not your planet to worry about.
That's one thing me and Courtney always joke about is like right now we're like, we're not having kids, so that sounds like an everybody else problem.
Crank the air conditioning up. We only got a good 40 years left anyway.
I guess I just turned into the guy who thinks he's the main character.
You just did it. You lived long enough to become the villain,
This
brother.
podcast came full circle on my ass real quick.
Well, in that case, maybe this is the time to wrap it up.
All right, I feel like we went long enough here.
Yeah, this is fine. We'll be back. If this wasn't enough for you, we'll be back live on the show tomorrow, which means you'll be back to live daily podcasts as well.
Unless there's an apocalypse.
That's true.
Yes.
If between the time of recording this and you hearing it, there's been an apocalypse, there's a chance we won't be on the air tomorrow, depending on what our new overlords say.
Yes.
So we'll see.
All right. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Keep it sexy.
Bye, everybody.
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.
The Brock and Dalby podcast is brought to you by badshop.ca, the Brock and Dalby merch store, with all proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society.